Hi, my name is Lucas Gabb, and today on the Gear4music Guitars channel, we're going to do something a little bit different. Our guitar department's provided me with 5 of their favourite pedals. I've never played with these pedals before, but together we're going to check them out and find out why they made the list. So the first pedal we're looking at is the Lizard Queen, which is an octave and distortion pedal. So I mean, I'm kind of expecting this to have a bit of a fuzzy flavour, kind of a bit of a vintage feel. So let's show what the clean tone sounds like before we do anything else. So, you know, your standard Stratocaster kind of glassy clean. Okay, so we've got kind of definitely a bit of saturation on there. We've got volume, balance, and octave controls. So initially, let's set the balance to 12 o'clock and kind of start from there. So it's got definitely a warmth with it. I'm currently using the front pickup and I'm kind of using the volume control to kind of rein things in. It sounds to me so as there's no distortion control, it sounds to me that you're going to kind of control the distortion by pulling back the volume, which I think is pretty cool. You know, a lot of players naturally will do that anyway. So if I increase the volume now. Okay, cool. So we increase the octave, see if we can get some more. I'm not noticing low octaves, so I'm believing this is going to be an upper high octave. Okay, that's super cool. Yeah, I really like that. So the sun and the shadow, let's kind of flick between them, see what we're saying. I'm assuming these are going to be kind of like tonal shapings based on the pedal. Okay, cool. So that was the shadow. Let's switch over to the sun, see how that kind of sounds. Okay, so definitely one of them is providing a lot more top end. So we've got the sun, which is pulling in a lot more of the highs, and the shadow, which kind of gives it a darker sound and kind of rolling off some of the top. I personally think it's a bit smoother and a bit softer on the shadow setting. I'm going to roll back the volume to around about midway. Okay, super cool. I mean, I totally understand why this can be an instant game changer. We're going from a clean sound to basically a fully functional lead tone, or, you know, if we mix this in with maybe some of the other pedals, you've got a pretty juicy kind of rhythm bass. So next up, we've got this range of Hartwood pedals. So we've got a chorus, distortion, drive, and fuzz. And these pedals all come in a starter pack, complete with the power supply that we're using to pack all of the power for all of these pedals today. So these pedals to me look like a very good kind of front end shaping options. You know, you're not really like looking for many effects, reverbs and delays, but you know, with what we've got here, we can definitely get a few different tones and probably play a few different styles. So let's jump into the chorus first and have a look at that. I mean, instantly that sounds great. Let's have a mess around with some of the settings. So I believe we've got a speed, a depth and a volume. So you can see things get a little bit wild when you turn things right up, but let's pull it back a little bit. Maybe see if it's a little bit more tasteful. So yeah, it's definitely super cool, something that you could implement, particularly, you know, if you're looking for kind of a retro feel. Let's jump into the distortions. So this a nice little distortion to it. It's still got a lot of the top end sizzle, which is really cool. We've got a couple of different options here. We've got solo, turbo, and normal. I'm presently set to the turbo mode. Let's have a little mess around. So this is now in the normal mode. Switch it through so you can hear. And then back to the solo. Okay, cool. So some minor different like envelope, you know, with the saturation. We've got some different options here. So we've got the distortion level and the filter level. So if we pull the filter level up, so okay, you've got varying amounts of like top end as you kind of go through that. It's kind of just a little bit of an additional shaping control. If we turn the distortion right up, let's see what we get. So it's quite a nice like fuzzy and thick distortion you've got there, which I think is pretty cool, particularly for like a classic kind of rock tone, kind of on the edge of a breakup stage of an amp, which is, you know, always nice. So moving on, we've got a drive pedal. Okay, so we like the distortion pedal. We've got a couple of different options here. It's currently set to bright. If I pull the switch back, it's set it to normal. I'm assuming it's just going to take off some of the top end. So I don't think it actually took off a lot of the top end. I think what it did is kind of just added some more of the low end to come through. So let's have a little adjust of the controls. We've got a tone over here and the main drive control. Okay, so the tone is definitely kind of affecting the brightness of this. Okay, so it's definitely more of like the pre-breakout stage of an amp here. It's kind of like very, very kind of, I don't know, push it to the zone where you're about to get the gain, but not quite. But I think that's super cool. You kind of definitely can play into that. If you play a bit softer and roll the volume back, you can use this. And then kind of, you know, say for example, you pushed into a larger part of the song, you can always pull the volume up. Then which is always nice. So the one I'm most excited about is this fuzz. Let's see what it's saying. I really like the design as well. Super simple, straight down to the point, just one knob. I think, well, it's pretty self-explanatory how we're gonna go here. So, I mean, this is a great starter pack. You're looking at around £150, but I definitely think there's a lot of tonal shaping options here. And to be honest with you, it's kind of quite inspiring just to have a little play with the different tones and kind of see what comes out. This fuzz is definitely a fun one. Yeah, I mean, that's super cool. I mean, let's see what we can create if we put some of these pedals together. I mean, instantly you're having a good time. The chorus and distortion combo is definitely one of my favorites. So next up is the Fender Shields Blender. So it's a very, very expansive octave and fuzz sound. It's definitely got a unique retro kind of styling to the actual pedal. So I'm kind of expecting it to create all sorts of weird and wonderful kind of, you know, rumbly, fuzzy octave kind of sounds. I reckon we jump straight in and see what we got. Super saturated and kind of like, you know, very dirty, but I think it sounds super cool. You can even use it in a kind of like very weird, effective ways. I'm going to turn this sustain up and see kind of... So it gets a bit wild, but... I mean, that's not the use for this pedal, but you could definitely use that at the start of a song or maybe for additional effects. Personally, I want to jump in and try this with something, you know, a little bit heavier with a humbucker just to see if we can get some bit crazy out of it. I mean, that's quite frankly disgusting, but in the best kind of way. You know, you hear that, it sounds like the end of the world is coming. That's super exciting, particularly for a guitarist when you've got an amp roaring in a room. So there's loads and loads of different controls on here. You could definitely mess around and find some weird and wacky sounds. If I pull some of this around, let's see what we can create. So this is by no means your normal run-of-the-mill kind of octave and fuzz, but I've only just scratched the surface here. I mean, if you spend some time with this thing, I'm sure you can create loads of unique sounds, and particularly in a world where we're all trying to do something a little bit different with the guitar, I think this is your pedal of choice for creating something that maybe someone hasn't heard before. As a guitar player, it's always going to be difficult to talk about reverb pedals without mentioning Strymon. Personally, I've been the most excited for this one because I'm already a fan of the brand. So I'm excited to jump into the CloudBurst and see kind of what it's like. So for Strymon, this is a kind of relatively small size pedal. It's an ambient reverb pedal. So let's kind of flick through. We've got the usual decay, mix, pre-delay, tone, and modulation settings. We've also got an ensemble feature, which I'm assuming is some kind of like shimmer. But yeah, let's see how it sounds. I mean, honestly, you just can't beat their reverbs. They sound so, so good. So we've kind of got everything set to middle of the road, apart from the pre-delays. I wanted that to kick, you know, fairly quickly. Let's mess around with some of the mod features, see what happens there. You notice as I actually change the mod control, you can hear the settings change. You hear that decay is like the modulation happening. So if I pull that back a little bit, I'm actually going to mess around with the ensemble feature now. So it clicks three ways. We've got off, we've got a middle setting, and then forte. So this is kind of the middle setting. So yeah, it's kind of adding a, you know, another harmonic note, which is kind of making it feel like it's got, you know, a shimmer. I think it'd be really cool when you kind of like build these into full kind of scale. So you've got instant atmosphere builders here. I know personally I use a lot of these kind of like effects in the background of like full songs, or if you drop into a verse and you're playing some clean guitars, it's always cool to have these big reverb palettes to kind of give the song a bigger kind of environment than, you know, just the room. I mean, yeah, it sounds crazy. This thing's amazing, and I'm probably gonna get one myself. So last up, we have the Boss DM101 delay machine. So we're all familiar with Boss delay pedals. I mean, they've been used in so many records and so many shows that you're hearing them whether you like it or not. So the Boss DM101 builds on those classic pedals and kind of offers you a more all-encompassing option. So it's got 12 different options of the delay type. We've also got separate controls for the mod width, mod depth, and the variation, along with the different types of delay controls such as the volume, intensity, and time. Additionally, we've also got the different kind of types of delay. Obviously, it's important that you set it to the right setting, otherwise you can get something completely different. So we've also got the option for triplets and for dotted notes, which is my personal favorite. And one of the coolest features we have here is the memory function. So the memory function allows us to store and recall up to 5 of our own delay settings, which is amazing if you're playing shows or you have different delays that you'd like to use based on the application. You can cycle through these with the memory control here. This will also recall the tap tempo that's engaged. Or alternatively, if you kind of just want to jam and try some different stuff out, throw it into the manual mode. At this point, you can tap in the tempo and all the controls here will be able to just select as you like. So let's have a little listen to some of these sounds. So that's currently set to the wide setting. If we flip this over to some of the more traditional, kind of like a vintage setting, let's see what it's saying. And then slow that tempo down. So it's safe to say that the Boss DM101 kind of has you covered when it comes to anything delay. It's definitely an awesome addition to any pedal board and could arguably get rid of multiple delay pedals and put it all in one unit. So there you have it. There's our 5 top picks for pedals this year. Let us know what you think of these pedals and let me know what your favourite pedal is. Drop it in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.